Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of Just Between You and Me with Steve Dotto. I am Steve Dotto. How the heck are you doing this fine day? Let me just, there we go. I'm there. Here I am. How the heck is everybody doing this fine day? We are thrilled to be joining you folks today on YouTube, on Facebook, and also on NVIDIA's homepage. Those of you who are viewing us on Facebook Live or YouTube Live, if you want a slightly different experience than the Facebook or YouTube Live experience, and you want to join us in our own Just Between You and Me community, you can point your browser to nvidio.io/you and me. I should have that as a graphic. I don't know if I do, but nvidio.io/you and me. It'll be dropped in the chat in all of the different platforms. And there you can join us for a slightly different and slightly more intimate experience as we do our live stream today, as we do it. So this is the first episode, as you probably know, since you haven't seen us on air before. And we are thrilled. We've got a great lineup. We're going to be joined by Andrew and Pete today, who are some of the most talented online marketers and community managers that I know. And we're going to have a good chat with them and answer a lot of questions. The idea behind this show is you see lots of live streams and everybody talks about the same stuff on live streams and lots of good value, lots of great content, lots of great value. But you know when the most valuable stuff happens? The most valuable stuff happens when we turn off the camera and we get to chat with our hosts and say, just between you and me, how does this really work? So that's this show. We're going to talk about all the stuff that we need to know, but we're also going to make sure that you know what's happening kind of just between you and me. We're going to dive in a little bit more actionable items, a little bit more detail. We're going to get a little bit more to maybe the naughty bits of online marketing, if you know what I mean. If you do, I hope you do. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to fire things up. We have assets coming out of the wazoo. So let's get things going. I'm looking forward to our first episode of Just Between You. And we are joined today for our first episode, Andrew and Pete. Pete and Pete and Andrew. How are you guys doing?
Hey.
Hello. How the heck are you?
Welcome, everybody.
We are doing really good.
There we go. So thanks so much for being here. Now, you guys are showing an awful lot of courage being the first.
I'm a bit nervous, to be honest. I don't know about you, Pete, but I'm feeling a little bit like, oh no, what?
Yeah, there's some pressure.
Where is this going to go?
This has been insane.
Yeah, because you got the graphic, we did the animation, we got the background happening. This is not your average first episode of a live stream.
This is good. We're gonna have to bring the heat, bring the fire for this session. So I hope you are all excited. Let us know in the comments if you are excited, what you're looking forward to. Ask some questions. Let's do this.
I'm just taking a quick look, and we've got, it's good. I'm making sure that we're feeding everywhere. That's all good. We are doing fantastic. So, guys, so just a quick, we got to start things off with a congratulations, because you guys have just went through 3 months of hell.
It's been probably the busiest period of our career so far, hasn't it, Pete?
So everybody is affected by the pandemic in a different way, and we all, and none of us really want to whine. There's no whining in marketing, but you guys worked your ass off. Last year, you had your first live conference, which was, I think, would you say a surprise success? Way more successful than you expected?
Way more successful.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah. We thought there was going to be 80 people.
And how many people showed up? The conference is called Atomicon. And how many did you have last year?
We had 350.
350.
The venue.
So you guys leaned into it like crazy. You committed 100% of your energy and resources. You got a phenomenal lineup of speakers set up for last week, or for this week. Yeah, just this last week.
Yeah.
In Newcastle, where you're going to get the whole world to come to Newcastle.
Yeah.
And how many people did you have signed up for this year's conference?
We had 800. The plan was to hit 1,000 if we could.
Yeah. And then,
but then
the world said, or the virus said, hold my beer.
Yes.
Yeah.
The virus was like, I don't think you're going to hit that target this year, guys.
So you guys had to pivot. You guys had to pivot, and you had to turn it into an online conference.
Yes.
And that had to be hard.
It was.
Yeah.
Go on, Pete.
It was like absolutely devastating. But we picked ourselves up. Our community was so supportive, and we made it our mission to make it like the best virtual event ever. We put a lot of effort into it, and it's gone down really, really well. And as a result, it's not only been a good success, but it's also proven that even in these hard times, you can still make some really good stuff happen, and it's going to help us make next year's event even better as well, because we've had to incorporate a few things. So it's exciting in a way.
Lots and lots of lessons. And now just before we get into our main content today, I just want to one of the things that surprised me and made me go, was you decided, unlike most conferences, you hosted it in Facebook, in a private Facebook group, as opposed to using any meeting package or anything else, which I thought took a lot of, I thought it was insane, frankly. I thought it was going to be just a disaster, but it wasn't.
Well, it's funny because we run online events, every 2 months in our membership anyway. So we've run like maybe 6 or 7 online events previously, and they all take place in the membership Facebook group. So like we knew the nuances of that. We knew we were kind of maybe be up against it a tiny bit with people questioning that decision. But I feel like it was just the best way to, everyone knows how to use Facebook. Like everyone like knows all the buttons to press. And I feel like it's a really easy place to have an event like that. Like it's great networking opportunities, really easy to use all the streaming software.
Everything flows in fine. What worried me is relying on the Facebook algorithm to serve the proper stuff to the community as they came into the page, because you had stuff that was current and you'd come into the page and perhaps you're coming to look for somebody's talk that starts at 10, but because of the algorithm, it's promoting a talk that was a couple of hours before or something that's going to be happening a couple of hours after. So that was my big concern. Did that worry you?
Actually, what's really funny is at the top of the screen, if you've got multiple lives, it tells you who's live right now in the top of the group. So people could just click on that. So it was good.
Okay. Well, it was way better than I thought. It's not the content. I knew the content was going to be great, but no, the experience on Facebook was way better than I thought it was going to be, and it did generate a lot of a good community feel, which is the thing that we were most concerned about losing with these online conferences, is that sense of being part of a group.
Right. So, exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was so nice. So nice.
So let's dive into the chat today. We want to talk about content. We want to talk about making the best possible content that one can. Now, are you guys a fan of the term? I've heard a lot of our colleagues poo-pooing the term content marketing. Are you guys a fan of the term?
You know what? I am quite a fan of the term. I feel like it's a really good kind of catch-all term for the new way of marketing a business. It is everything we create, especially if we're marketing our businesses on the internet, is content in some kind of form. So I don't know. For us, I think we're pro term. Would you agree with that, Pete?
Yeah, definitely. Like, what's wrong with it? Like, get over it. It doesn't matter what it's called. It's
like it does what it says on the tin.
Let's stop arguing about it and start doing it.
I think one is people don't want to get painted by a brush into a corner that they are like content marketers and not necessarily certain that it might be just one step removed from snake oil salesman. I think there's that concern. And so people, and because people don't really understand that, how you build a trust funnel, how you have to use content to create trust. And it's really not about the content, it's about relationship building. That I guess, but relationship marketing sounds kind of socially engineered, doesn't it?
See, that's just between you and me, Steve, I can't stand it when marketers use like buzzwords that make the thing more complicated than what it needs to be. It's like, it is content, it is marketing. Let's call it content marketing. If anything, though, if we were gonna like poo-poo the term, maybe it's the marketing part that is wrong, because it's marketing, but it's also selling. So content selling and marketing maybe is a better term.
That is something that people get a lot of people that are in marketing and that creating the content for marketing are a little bit afraid of the selling side. And I imagine that's something that we'll get to that a little bit later. I've got some questions on the selling side, because at the end of the day, that's what we go towards, but it's almost like we want it to happen without actually asking for it. I think a lot of us are very sensitive. And then of course we've got the other club, which is the one that the rest of us don't want to be associated with, which have no problem asking for the sale, and that's all they do is sell. And so finding that happy medium.
Absolutely finding a balance.
So let's talk about the process that you guys go through, because you guys with your community, you teach marketing, you teach online business, you teach people how to do that, but then you also have to create a vast amount of content yourself. So you're kind of in that kind of inside baseball stage where you're creating content about creating content. Is a lot of what you do. Is that fair to say?
I feel like that's a fair statement.
Yeah. I always feel that it's a little. I think the term is meta. It's a little bit meta.
Yes.
Yeah.
That, right? So when you go through, when you start creating a piece of content, how do you determine? Because I mean, in our space, there are so many different buckets of content that we can create. How do you start to determine? How do you create content silos that you want to start populating in order to kind of move your message forward? At the top level, how do you guys strategically look at the type of content that you should be sharing?
You're gonna take that, Andrew?
Yeah, I'll take that one. You know what's really strange, Steve? It's like we're usually doing these lives together and we kind of got like hand signals, like that's your question, that's my question. So we are now separated and working out how to do these lives separately. I'll take that one, Pete. So one of the key things that we always think about whenever we're starting with content is, what is the purpose of this content? And for us, the bit of content is either to build our audience or to sell our membership. Like, we only have one product, it's Atomic. So for us, it's sell Atomic. And we are very kind of deliberate about what is the purpose of that bit of content. And we're very deliberate about making sure we are putting as much effort into the selling piece of content as we are into the kind of audience building content. And then right in the middle, we have what we call hand raiser content. Okay. So once we have started to build an audience of potential customers for Atomic, we want to start moving them through and finding out who in that audience is actually a good potential customer. So what we'll do is we'll get them to tell us in some way that they are interested, so we can then serve them some sales content. Like that hand raiser content, I think, is a big part of the puzzle that a lot of content marketers miss. They'll either do I'm just going to sell to everyone that comes onto my email list, or they'll do, I'm just going to build a great YouTube channel or a great Instagram, and I've got no idea who is actually ready to buy. So we are constantly trying to get our audience to raise the hand.
So you're trying to get them to engage with the content, and the engagement is the trigger. So it's
in a very certain way, in a very, very specific way that allows us to follow up.
Okay, give me an example of a piece of content that you guys have created in the last couple of months that you looked at and you said, this was strategically from inception, this is in our sweet spot, this is the reason, this is how it worked, and this is what the engagement was. Give me a real example.
Yeah. Okay, so a great example would be, recently we did a video about sales proposals. So we've looked at some of our members' sales proposals. We realized they were all terrible. Like, how are people ever supposed to make a sale when you can't even understand what you're selling and what they're offering? It's a huge barrier. But yeah, we think it's very simple. It just needs to be very clear what you're offering, what you're selling. And so we just took one of our sales proposals that we used to have way back when we did one-to-one work, and we basically turned it into a template. And we basically said in our YouTube video, like, hey, this is how you create a great sales proposal. And if you want, we've got in the link below a sales proposal template that you can download. So if you want more sales, go download the sales proposal template. Now, what does that do? Like, this is just one way to do a hand raiser, and it's getting someone to, register the email. And what does that do? Well, it tells us that this person is a service-based business. They send out proposals and they want more sales. That is a perfect customer for Atomic. So now we can say to that person, hey, do you want more sales? Yeah, they've just downloaded a sales proposal template. Great. Well, then, you know what? You might want to and then we lead them on to the next step. So the next step might be a webinar about how to get more sales from social, or it might be directly into our sales pitch. And so
let me just jump in,
because
I think there's a really important point here. When we hear people making an offer like that, I think immediately list builder. I think that's a list builder for you to add email addresses. But what you're telling me is no, this is for people who are already on our list to raise a flag that they're interested in this content. So this is not necessarily adding new email addresses, although that might be a side benefit that happens a little bit. But that's not what this content is focused on. This content is focused on qualifying and moving people through your own funnel.
Exactly.
Yes. So for example, like what if you did a video on your Facebook page and it was like a behind the scenes of your course, right? Let's say 50%, let's say then you set up a retargeting ad audience to people that have watched 50% of that video. Now that video isn't building your audience and it's not necessarily selling outright, although it could be, but the people that have watched 50% of that behind the scenes video, they're perfect people for you to retarget and follow up with. And it will also give you almost permission to follow up with them in a non-slimy way because they've already watched it. They've already raised their hand and said, you know what, I'm interested enough to watch 50% of this video.
Yeah.
So it takes away that sleaziness.
And it also really changes the goal of a piece of content that you create. We get so caught up on numbers. You know, if I create a list builder, if I go through all the effort to get Liz to design a PDF and to do all those things, I want to see, when I look at that, I want to see that it's added 1,500 new email addresses to my mail list, right? Because at the end of the day, I look at those big numbers and I say X number of email addresses on my list that I email to means this much money at the end of the year. At the simplest form. That's, our primordial brain works. More numbers, more numbers.
Yes.
But this is far more sophisticated. This is far more targeted and I would say mature. This is a mature way.
This is what we mean. Like with every bit of content, it needs to have a purpose.
Yes.
And the purpose is always eventually sales. So even if you're writing a blog, like is that blog a direct correlation to your sales funnel? Like if it's not, like what's the point in making it?
Well, does the fact that they want to read that blog mean that they are a perfect customer for you? Can you send an email that paints a pain point that when people click and read that blog, you now know that person on your email list has that pain point that not only does that blog solve, but does your product solve or your service solve or whatever you're selling solve?
Yeah, so that's another great hand raiser. So for example, if we send to our email list, hey, do you want this sales proposal template video? Like it's a helpful video. And now we have X hundred or 1,000 people that have clicked to watch a free bit of content. But we now know that those 100 or 1,000 people or whatever are interested in getting more sales. And so we can follow up with that. We can say, hey, are you interested in more sales? Like we've got another video about blah de blah, which you might really be interested in. And that video is more salesy, So every bit of content has a purpose and a next step.
Yeah. A really easy example. Can I just give one more really quick example as well? This is one that every service provider can do. It's probably our most profitable bit of content, maybe back when we did one-to-one services. It was just a simple price guide. We had a price guide for our one-to-one services that we had on our website and we sent to our list fairly regularly. And it wasn't a big list builder. We maybe only had a few hundred people ever download the price guide. But everyone that downloaded it was a hot lead. And then we had an automation that booked them in for a phone call.
And that was your price list?
That was our price list.
Okay.
Yeah. Pete would get on the phone with them and close them on the phone. And it was just a really simple bit of content. We tell every service provider, if you don't want to put prices on your website, put them in a price download. Or if you've got them on your website already, put them in a price download because people will raise the hand and say, hey, I want to know that. And then you can follow up and sell them.
You can share that in email. You can share it on social. It's like anyone that downloads it is immediately raising the hand. Like you can follow up and sell to them.
Yeah. So let's talk about the content that you create, because one of the challenges that most content creators have is an analysis paralysis. There's too much content out there, and so we're taught all of these different techniques. And one of the techniques we're taught so early on is to understand who our avatar is, which has always been something that's driven me freaking nuts. Although it's easier now that I'm really old and I know that I just want people with gray hair. But that when you create a piece of content and or even you start that funnel process, are you thinking about your avatar that you guys have actually decided on, or are you trusting your instincts more in creating content that you know that your community is going to want and is going to serve your purposes?
No video comes about just because we think that'll be good. And almost that's the same thing, right? So every bit of content we create has come from demand somewhere. And I think that's really, really important. And it's the same with any product or service that you create. If it's not born out of a demand or a need, then you're going to struggle to sell it usually. So it's the same with content. So every bit of content that we create has either been asked by one of our members, someone has said they had a big problem, we've given them some help and it's helped them, and then we thought, oh, well, that helped them, well, we could create a video on that. Or we're doing the analysis, we're using tools to help us find what people are searching for. So it's either search topic or people asking us questions. They're the main thing.
Yeah, I do think that gets a lot easier the more you build an audience and build a community. I definitely think back at the very beginning, it was very much guessing what people wanted because we didn't really know.
I'm starting to believe that just with what we're experiencing now with COVID, that the profit's in the pain. That we talk about the questions that they ask, but really, when it comes down to solving things that hurt people, that really bother them, the real issues that they have that are causing them issues, that's why so many of our colleagues right now, social marketing, online marketing just is exploding when the rest of the world is having issues, because we're solving real problems, that we have. And for somebody like myself, just the videos that we're doing on using Zoom, it's solving a problem. Yes. And as a result, the metrics are all just going, and you just listen. This is what's bothering people. You create content for it. It's almost too simple.
Yes.
Yeah. People definitely overthink it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk to you about your part of the other content strategy, because you guys have a mantra you follow, and it's different than you guys. Is it the UK version? Because your equation is way off. But you guys call it, you guys are telling me that you've got this 90-10 rule. The rest of the world has an 80-20 rule. So is this a pound? Is this a stone weight thing? Is this a percentage that the rest of the world can understand?
It's just how it translates over the pond.
So you're saying the 80-20 rule is BS, it's 90-10.
Mm-hmm. It's nothing to do with the 80-20 rule.
Tell me about your 90-10 rule.
Okay, so let me know in the comments if this resonates with you, okay? So you were sat there and you're thinking, okay, I need to create content. And you're thinking, well, what platform do I need to create this content for? Well, my perfect customer, people will say, do the platform that you enjoy the most, or do the platform where your customer is. Well, guess what? Your customer's on every damn platform. All right, they're watching YouTube videos, they're watching TikTok videos. They're not telling people they're watching TikTok videos, but maybe they are. They're also on LinkedIn, they're also on Instagram, right? They're on Twitter, they're on everything. Let's face it, you can make an argument that most businesses serve customers who are on most platforms. And everyone has access to videos, YouTube, podcasts, blogs, everything. So where do you start? And what people tend to do is they look up to all these other companies, all these bigger channels, and they go, okay, well, they're successful, and they do something on all these different platforms. They do Facebook Lives, they do YouTube channels, they're on Instagram all the time. Their Instagram's amazing. I love their stories. And what people tend to do is think, oh, I need to do all that too.
Yeah, or their friends are telling them, all their advisors. You've got to be here because
Everyone.
they have success there. Yeah.
And you know what really annoys us between you and us? Me and you?
You were close.
You and us? I was close with that title, wasn't I?
Okay. What is it?
Yeah, just
There you go. You
between
can read
you
it now.
and me and Andrew.
Yeah.
What really annoys is this whole omnipresent marketing word, which is like such a buzzword at the moment. And yeah, if you have the resources to have amazing content on all the different platforms, then bloody tastic, go for it. But most people, I would suggest 99.9% of the world, don't have those resources. So especially if you're a small business owner, okay? If you're just a one-man band doing this for yourself or a small team, there's no way in hell you're going to create great content on all the platforms. And you know, the thing that wins on any platform is just really, really great content. And if you are not creating great content, then you're not going to do as well. And the reason you can't create great content is because you're spread out too thin. If you have to create a YouTube video every week and a podcast and a blog and Facebook Lives and Instagram stories, you're going to fail. Well, you're not going to fail. You're going to do everything, but you're going to do everything averagely. So the 90-10 rule suggests that you culminate all those resources and put 90% of your efforts into doing just one thing remarkably well and seeing great success. And the other 10% of your efforts and time and resources and money, that can go into repurposing content, that could go into experimenting, and so forth, and all these other channels just to try them out. But all the best success stories of content marketers, of people that have used content to grow the business, all of the best examples in the world have one thing in common. They all did one thing remarkably well first. Then later on, they added something else when they could and they had more resources. But it was always just one thing first.
It's much
And this
easier
is
to
the
launch
90-10 rule.
something new once you have an audience somewhere. Like, it's much easier to grow a YouTube channel and then launch an Instagram or then try to do other things. Really hard to do them all at the same time.
Yeah. So that let's unpack it a little bit more then, because I first of all, I'm 100% in agreement. I believe that we should lean into a single network, and we should. Well, no,
That would have been awkward.
I mean, I do. Well, actually, I recognize the value of that, but I think people have to understand what doing one thing really well entails, because we can have a whole different equation with how much effort you put into researching your content, making sure your content is on point, the creation of the content. That's just the tip of the iceberg, right? So let's say you're creating a YouTube video, and a lot of people that I know think that once they create that video, that they've done the hard work, they did the research, they came up with a great topic, they've got the right people, they've got the right information in there, they've recorded it and probably overproduced it. They tend to overproduce, but they've put all these efforts into the production. They've created a really great, compelling piece of content, and then they publish it, and they think that the YouTube gods are now going to say, "Well done, Steve. I am now going to bequeath unto you hundreds of thousands of new subscribers and followers because you worked so hard and you created a great piece of content." And then when there's crickets on the thing, they just get depressed. Yeah. So they go and they work harder on the next piece of content, and they completely miss the most important part of your content creation process, which is the frickin' promotion of the content you create.
Yes,
exactly. And the 90-10 rule isn't just about like creating the content. It's about everything to do with that content piece, right? So within, like, to break that down, a huge part of creating content, like you said, is the promotion. Like you should spend a huge proportion of your overall time on the actual promotion, even if that means you have to create less content. I'd rather you do an amazing piece of content and promote it amazingly well twice a month or once every 6 weeks even, rather than every single week doing something averagely and promoting it averagely.
Now, creating that piece of content, even in that schedule, doesn't mean that you are going dark in between those times, because it's in the promotion of that content that you remain relevant and you remain in and it's the repurposing of the content. So let's walk through let's unpack the repurposing story a little bit, and how you can take a piece of content, the different ways that you can repurpose it, and how it's sort of at that point there we get into a gray zone, which is, yes, we are concentrated, say, on YouTube, but now we're using Twitter, now we're using Instagram, now we're using the other Facebook to drive traffic to that. So you're still participating in those, even though those aren't the platforms that you're leaning into. I think people.
Well, it depends. I think it depends on your search strategy.
Okay.
Your discoverability. So, for example, if you are going to go 100% or 90% on Instagram, like your discoverability and your promotion isn't necessarily all the other channels. Like, you're not going to have a massive surge of traffic if you're not putting any effort into all the other channels except promote like your Instagram. Okay, like the way you're going to promote your Instagram content is by properly doing the research on your hashtags, making sure you're commenting and engaging on other people, making sure maybe even doing ads to your content. This is going to grow your Instagram. And for example, with a blog, let's say if you go 90% on a blog, right? The best way, or one of the best ways to get traffic consistently to your blog is with search, right? So for example, there's a guy called Brian Dean, and he does these amazingly beautiful blogs. And rather than doing one a week, he actually does one every 6 weeks, if that. And they are the most beautiful, amazing blogs you've ever read about SEO. And his strategy is SEO, right? So he will then spend the rest of the 6 weeks like getting backlinks to that blog, writing other articles on other people's websites to get traffic to it, to increase his domain authority, to rank higher in search. So that's his promotion strategy for that blog. And yes, in the 10%, like he'll put it on Facebook. He has an Instagram account with about 10 posts. Not very good. I think he gave up on that. And it doesn't matter because he's getting hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people going to his blogs every month because he creates the best darn blogs on the internet.
So
and that's his one thing.
So does he repurpose his content in any way other than that? Does he like he's looking at the back, he's looking at basically getting it into the search engine, making sure that he ranks in search. But what about generating the kind of more random traffic, stuff that might come from Facebook or from people that are interested in searching on other, like in YouTube? Is he engaging in taking that content, doing a video summary that he would then post somewhere else? Anything like that?
You know what? He doesn't. He does post links to it on Facebook and he will talk about it, but that's not his primary way of getting traffic to it because he knows it's one-off, whereas search is all the time. That doesn't mean that's the strategy for everyone. Of
course not, yeah.
But that is just,
And that's where you've got to know your market, you've got to know your community, and you've got to trust your instincts there too, right? You've got to, because he could quite easily be taking that blog post and making little memes of it and posting them on Twitter and all that sort of stuff, and not and all of that energy being wasted because it's not landing in front of the people that he needs it to land in front of.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
like driving
do that.
traffic from social now is not as easy as it used to be.
Yeah,
I think especially if you've got a blogging strategy, putting your efforts into doing some of those things Pete was talking about, like putting your efforts into actually getting backlinks, collaborating with people, is a lot more sensible. Another real example of this is our friend and Atomic member John Esperian. He went all in on LinkedIn. He was like on every social platform. He heard the 90-10 rule. He just pulled the plug on most of his social platforms. Like he stopped doing Facebook. He stopped doing Instagram. I think he does a little bit on Twitter still, but 90% of his efforts are in LinkedIn and using the LinkedIn platform to get more eyes to his content, commenting on other people's posts, like make sure he's connecting with the right people, collaborating with people on LinkedIn. And I think it was like the space of a year, he went from like a few hundred or a few thousand subscribers So now I think he has 50,000 followers on LinkedIn just by doing it remarkably well.
But he is, but he's definitely, because his community is on, he knows his community is on LinkedIn.
Yes.
He's leaning.
Yes.
Well, his community could be anywhere.
Yeah.
The thing is, he
They're on
enjoyed
Facebook,
it.
they're
He
on
enjoyed it the
Instagram.
most. And I feel like that's
He
the thing
enjoyed
we forget about. Like, you can make a case for them being everywhere. You're not going to be consistent with it unless you actually enjoy creating that bit of content.
Yeah.
So, like, if your community is on Instagram and you can make a case for that and you enjoy Instagram, go all in on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like in most cases, you can find your community. Like maybe if you are trying to target over 60s, setting a TikTok account up might not be the best idea right now. But like you could make a case for the over 60s on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn.
You know, there's something to be said for the Marie Kondo approach, that if the content you create doesn't bring you a certain amount of joy, you probably shouldn't be creating it. If it's work,
Right.
Yes. Well, yeah, we say
hard
that
to
all
do.
the time. If you don't enjoy creating your content, how do you expect other people to enjoy consuming it?
I wish I'd paid attention to that, because I've always created content that I go, I don't want to do this. And I felt like it was responsibility, not necessarily video stuff, but you know, the other stuff I go, guys, but everybody tells me I got to do it. So I do it. And it's just like, I would be so much happier. My hair might be several shades darker if I'd paid attention to that. So let's take a step back. Let's take a look at 2020. The world's changed. So you've talked about LinkedIn, let's talk about what you think the state of social media is and the state of the platforms is. What do you think is going to be the hottest thing? Like where's the direction going this year?
You know what, Steve? Just between you and me, that is another one. Yeah, get it up there. Get it up there. Just between you and me.
You and I and us.
Between you, us three, and all of you watching, we hate that question so damn much.
I do, because what I would. So
let's explain why, though.
Yeah,
you tell me why first, and then I'll rephrase it so that you can answer it, so you won't have to throw up in your mouth.
Yeah. We hate it because it always makes people do the exact opposite of what we've just explained. Like we can say TikTok is the next big thing. We can say live video is the next big thing. Everyone's been saying video's the next big thing since we set up our business. Video has been the next big thing. Everyone's always talking video is the next big thing. And it's like, what is always going to be what's always going to work is just creating better content. And that's not new, that's not hot, that's just always been the truth. Like create better content that people actually want to consume, not that you're just creating because you feel like you're being forced to create it, or you feel like it's something that you've promised, so now you're just going to create content for the sake of creating content.
For example, with Brian Dean, like he blogs, right? Blogging isn't the hot new thing.
Yeah.
But the reason why he wins, the reason why he gets 200,000 people visiting his website every month is because his blogs are the best darn blogs on that topic on the world, in the internet. And he deserves that traffic. He deserves it. And the reason people backlink to his blogs is because they are epic. They're amazing. And the reason I'm telling everyone else here today about it is because they're epic.
Because
and if I've read 100 articles, I've read 1,000 blogs, there's not many that I tell other people about. And so you need to ask this question to yourself. Like, are you creating just blasé content?
Yeah.
Or are you creating content that's so good that every time one person sees it, they need to tell another person?
So I just had a podcast interview with Marcus Sheridan, and the number one. Why are you guys laughing?
No, that was a cough.
Oh, okay.
He's trying to disguise it casually, but you pulled him up on it.
And we titled it, and I titled the podcast episode that the trust, because trust is the most important currency we have online. And what the example you're talking about, he's engendered trust with his community. They read us. They have the patience to read old school tech, a blog post. Oh my God, what a! It's so much work for me to pull information on it because he's generated trust. They know that what he writes is worth their time to learn. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So when I ask that irritating question, if it's the hottest thing online, really, it should be that people need to recognize that they have to look at themselves and see what they're moved to, and see. And you're saying something that I wouldn't have said. I would say, "Where's your marketplace? Go to where your market is." But you're saying, "Where's your heart? What type of content can you create and do an exceptional job of that brings you joy, and you can generate that? You can generate that engagement, and it doesn't." There's so much opportunity. It doesn't matter what platform you're on. You're going to succeed.
Like, I think the reason people like the question or they like reading articles like what's the hottest new thing is because they want the quicker win. They want to be able to ride on some kind of like coattail and like trend and suddenly get more traction than they maybe deserve, because it's hard work to create really remarkable content. It's hard work.
And some platforms,
people want the shortcut.
Some platforms are instant gratification. YouTube, Twitter, instant gratification platforms. Really easy. Now, long-term benefits as well, but really easy. LinkedIn, Facebook, probably those other ones, kind of medium term. But blogging and podcasting, real long-term investment. You have to be willing to stay the course for many months. But then once you get that, it creates such a intimate connection that it's worth staying the course.
Yes. Do you know what we always say as well, though, with that? Because that's another one of our bugbears. People talk about content marketing being a long-term strategy, which it is a long-term strategy. However, I think a lot of people hear that and therefore don't expect to get results from their content marketing. And so they do blasé content over a long period of time because they shouldn't be getting results. Now, you might not be able to generate tons and tons of income from content marketing in week one. What you should be able to do is get some kind of reaction. So I think a lot of people will ask us, like, where do I go? Where do I put my efforts? Or what do I need to stop? It's like, where are you currently getting crickets? Where is no one engaging with you? Like, if you can't get one person to like a Facebook, like there's literally Facebook pages out there. We've looked. They've been posting on there for years. It like makes us feel sick about the amount of time they've put into scheduling this content, and no one is liking it. No one is commenting, and they're just doing it for the sake of it.
Yeah.
And like, you should be able to get a reaction, like from a piece of content, even if it's one person.
From day one.
That was great.
And if you're not, you got to take a step back and you've got to reevaluate. So let's go into an area that's not often talked about in these sorts of conversations, unless it's the overall topic. We've talked a lot about our organic content, the content that we create to build our community, to generate trust, to generate a relationship with our community. But we could also pay for that. Yes. We could also pay for that engagement. What percentage of your content are you willing to turn into paid traffic?
So, as a percentage, that's an interesting question. Like what we will say is that if something goes down really well, double down on it. Like, focus more on it, send paid traffic to it. If it gets a good reaction, put more effort into it, create more content around it. And so you're kind of looking for those, like, knock it out of the park pieces of content. The ones that you don't even know if it's going to go down well, but you write it anyway. And then all of a sudden people are like, I love that idea. I love that concept. That's when you need to really double down on it and make more of it.
Like the sales proposal template is a good example of that one, because it was just kind of a video that we thought, this is good. The people are asking for it. People need this. We posted it. People loved it. The lead magnet literally took us, I don't know, half an hour to create, because it's literally a template based on something we've got. And all of a sudden, it's one of our most popular lead magnets.
Isn't
Then we're
that-
like, okay, let's put some ads behind this.
Doesn't that frustrate the hell out of you?
Yes.
It drives me crazy because we will work our asses off on a piece of content which is rich, which we know is great, and crickets.
Yes.
And then sometimes I'm just like, oh, I got to do a video this week. I got nothing. Here, this is, you look through your old list ideas. Oh yeah, I could do that. I had an old script for it. Yeah, I'll bang that one out. Boom. Kind of go to bed at night thinking, the MVP, that concept of minimum viable product. This was mailed it in product. It was just like, boom, I sent it in. And then all of a sudden I wake up in the morning and like it's trending. And I'm going, how the hell did that happen? And why? It's unfair.
Yes, it's frustrating.
We've spent many months, haven't we, Andrew?
We once made a content marketing movie, Steve. It was a whole movie production. It was a webinar, but we called it a movie. We put in days into this thing. It didn't do terribly. It didn't flop. But like when you compare it to the sales proposal template, that solved a real pain for someone and gave them instant gratification of what they were getting.
Literally, you said, hey, let's just throw this in. Oh yeah, let's throw that in.
Yes. Yes.
So the strategy then following that up, you have something that catches. If you're publishing enough content, you're going to have stuff that surprises the heck out of you. At that point there, you can double down on creating more content around it, which I don't know if you've had the experience. Sometimes it catches, sometimes it just fizzles. It's just how the algorithm gods treat us. But if you do have that successful piece of content, is there real wisdom to saying, now let's apply a budget to that and let's now spend money on the content which is going organically? Do you think that undermines
yes and no
content at all? Or go ahead.
I think it's a case of like it still needs to play into your strategy.
Yeah.
Like so for example,
so it's not just getting numbers, but it's getting numbers that you want.
So for example, with the sales proposal video that we did, we created another video about it, and we created a whole playlist in YouTube and put those two videos in it along with another video that was ranking. So like all of a sudden we've got more traffic coming to this playlist. The playlist becomes a little hub. More people watch those videos. More people download that lead magnet. We can do videos on YouTube about it. Sorry, like a video ad on Facebook, get people to download it. And I think that's where the magic is, because we know that not only are we getting people to download that lead magnet, but we know that lead magnet then gets people to watch our sales webinar, which then gets people to buy.
Yeah.
And they're the right people, which is important. Like on the flip side of that, another bit of content that did well for us was our GDPR video. We were ranking on Google, not just even YouTube, with the YouTube video for GDPR explained. So that did really well. And like we were so tempted at one point, weren't we, Pete, to like, let's put some more effort in this. Let's run some ads to this. We even like thought of lead magnets and ways like we can make more of it. And then we thought, this is not our audience. Like they're not going to join Atomic. They want to know more about GDPR because everyone's talking about it.
That's good. Yeah. So you recognize there were vanity metrics. You just have to be lucky.
Yeah.
A couple of questions from the community.
Yes, great.
And you guys are going to have to type in some. We're going to have to give them some URLs. So Marnie wants to know, or Maris wants to know about your Facebook group. They want to join the Facebook. The Atomic. You have a public group as well, right?
We don't have a public Facebook group. No, the Facebook group is just for members.
Okay, so how do they find out? Because you guys are in the middle of launching your membership site right now. So tell us where they go to find out more about Atomic.
Okay. Yeah, so it's becomeatomic.com. So that's becomeatomic.com. And the idea behind it is that we want people to grow faster by doing less. So you know how we mentioned like the 90-10 rule? Well, that applies to your to-do list as well. Okay, it applies to your services. It applies to everything. So if you have just this overwhelming sense of, oh my God, I've got so much to do in my business, and you always finish the day thinking, I've got all this stuff on my to-do list that I just never get around to doing. and you're constantly overwhelmed and you really want to grow, maybe you're doing really well, maybe you're just starting out. It doesn't matter, but you just want to grow faster and you're fed up of working all the hours of the day to do it. Atomic is going to help you to make more money without having to work more. So basically, like, we're not into this whole hustle mentality. So yes, you have to work hard sometimes, but no, you don't have to do that all the time. So we're all about having more impact and doing less work to achieve bigger results. And if people want to learn more, they can go to becomeatomic.com. And we basically have a flash sale going on at the moment. So people can get like a 30-day trial for £1. So for £1, you can go in, you can see how we're going to help you to rapidly grow your business and make smarter decisions in your business and basically work less and make more money. So, yeah.
And one of the nice things about communities like your guys is I see how much engagement there is. One of the for all of us content marketers, whatever you want to call us, it's hard for us in our normal day-to-day life to find people that we can talk to about our business. That this conversation, this doesn't happen on the street or in the coffee shop or with my family. So finding people that are like-minded, is facing the same issues as you, and finding the support of a community is so valuable. And one thing I've noticed about your guys' community is it seems to be a rising tide that you're lifting one another up. And I'm seeing some great community engagement and seeing lots of people all popping up all over the place that are part of your community that I see are all on the rise. So I think that's the best kind of
it makes our heart like warm, and like that's the thing that we're most proud of. Like, everyone is so helpful and supportive and collaborative. It's phenomenal. It's just honestly amazing. We love our community.
10 minutes left. Let's get through as many questions as we can.
Yeah, let's do it.
One last thing that I need to get from you, which is, first of all, Good Living wants to know, does the 80-20 rule also apply to YouTube?
It's the 90-10 rule.
90-10 rule, yes. Good Living.
Oh, sorry, 90-10. What did I say? 80-20?
Yes.
Well, you guys, it's this whole counterculture thing. Yes, it does. Probably more than any other platform.
Yes.
YouTube takes so long. So if you spread too thin, if you're trying to do a YouTube channel and a podcast and a great blog at the same time, like, it's never going to happen.
No.
Okay. I'm just trying to see here. The other questions are, I'm going to go back to mine because I'm just having a little bit of trouble with that. We're still getting kind of figuring out the best way to get all of our community's questions in. I got my listicle question. Are you ready for my listicle question?
Go for it.
3 things that you find all of us should concentrate more on, and 3 things we should worry less about.
I think it's good. Concentrate more on selling. I feel like marketers don't sell enough. Creating more remarkable content.
Focus content, like not stuff that's easy to produce, but stuff that moves the ball downfield.
Yes. And create an experience for your customers as well.
Okay. What are things that people are doing that they should do less of? Where are we spinning our wheels?
Trying to be everywhere. Spinning your wheels. People trying to be everywhere. Trying to be first as well. I feel like everyone will jump onto the new thing to be first there. Like, there's nothing wrong with just like waiting a little while, seeing what it does, and then jumping in once everyone else has worked it out.
Yeah.
Pete, come on. I gave 2 of both.
Sorry. I was distracted by the comments. Just being unfocused. I think just stop worrying about trying to do everything and just instead do one thing at a time really remarkably well. Don't try and launch loads of different services at the same time. Don't try and sell everything on the planet at the same time. Don't have 3 different businesses because you can just be spread too thin. Ultimate
like
focus
90-10 just applies to everything more than marketing. It started off as like a marketing concept, but we applied to everything, like sales, what we're selling, how we get hand raisers, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And you know something, one of the things that I see in your community, and I think that most people really need to come to terms with as well, is Can you think of any markets that are saturated that there isn't room for somebody else to come into?
Not off the top of
No,
my head.
really. The thing is that just because somebody else is doing what you want to do, people want your voice. If you can generate that relationship with them, like I see a new people teaching Facebook ads. Is there a more saturated marketplace than Facebook ads? Thank you, Facebook, for making ads so difficult to use that half of the world has to teach the other half how to use them. Yet that is the case, right?
That is so true.
so
I feel like marketing duos is quite saturated. I wouldn't try to take on that market.
Yeah,
but other than that,
Which was
you're
that?
good. Marketing duos.
Oh, marketing duos. Oh,
yeah.
You mean Andrew? I mean,
Yeah.
Andrew and Pete. we couldn't rearrange the windows, so we have to call Pete and Pete today. You've been called that before, haven't you, Pete?
I mean, that is my real name, and
that is on his passport.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So at any rate, the point that I was trying to make is that don't be concerned just because somebody else is successful in your space.
Yeah.
And as you get into it, you will, I think, with maybe a few exceptions, but you'll very quickly recognize that the people who you see as competition at the beginning end up being collaborators with you. And
exactly.
I can't think of anybody that goes to these social media marketing conferences that I've met who I look at as, oh, he's my competitor, she's my competitor. I can't have a good, nurturing relationship and mutually beneficial relationship with.
This is so true. This is so, and you know what else? It shows demand for that thing. I think the worst thing you can do is try to be the only one doing the thing you do, because then you have to explain what the thing is before you even explain how you can help them with that thing. The coaching industry is really bad at that. People will come up with the craziest names for what they actually do. Like, I'm a happiness, wellness, life, something or other coach, and it just confuses what you're actually saying.
Yeah. So niche. I read an article the other day. Somebody was saying that you shouldn't be niching, but which I think they were just trying to generate traffic. But but the more you niche, still.
Yes. It's like don't niche so much that people don't know what the hell you're actually doing.
You have 600 people in the Atomicon group right now.
Yes.
Membership. When you started, did you ever envision for even a moment that 500 people, there would be 500 people that would be interested in spending that money? Did you really even think that?
You know what, Steve?
You know what?
Just between you and me, 100%, because when we started, we were 21 and we were filled with such ambition. We thought we would have 100,000 members by now.
Oh, did you?
It was like, it was like,
you guys are crazy.
right. It was like, literally, we can do this. We had like so much energy, and it's like an energy that we try to keep.
You guys watch too much Gary Vaynerchuk.
I think maybe we have a little bit. It's like the kind of wanting to change the world kind of energy.
That's refreshing, because that answer was 180 degrees from what I thought it would be. It's
right.
I tell you what, we actually thought we'd get 500 people when we launched.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, we didn't think we would. We weren't like, oh yeah, we're definitely gonna get it. We were like that's our goal. We'd love that many. We had 100 people sign up for the pre-register, and we were like, yeah, let's do this. And turns out we had 5 people on the launch.
We are constantly thinking big. It's like, it's hard.
Now we know how to not launch.
I guess the point that I was trying to get to is there is the online marketing opportunities open the door to far more people than we can ever imagine are there. But you guys aren't going to support that, so that's it. I think we're coming up next week now, because we're closing in on the end. Guys, stick around for a second. I just got to do a quick promo for next week, because guess who's on with me next week? Do you know? You don't know. Here it is. Mark Schaefer. Our good buddy Mark Schaefer is going to be joining us. Mark's going to be talking about the human touch. He's all about people-to-people marketing. And Mark has a fascinating story, even more so than normal, because he's just been diagnosed twice back to back. Poor guy. He's been sick with COVID, so he's been through the trials. And even before he got sick, he was posting some of the most compelling content about how we in the marketing space should be dealing with the pandemic and dealing with the changing situation in the world. And he's going to bring some terrific insights to us here. So join us next week, same bat time, same bat channel for our next episode of Just Between You and Me. Andrew and Pete, you guys were awesome, as I knew you would be. Thanks so much for for joining us on the maiden voyage. And unlike the Titanic, we avoided most icebergs.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for having us. Thank you, everyone, for watching and commenting. We'll hop in and make sure any questions are answered. But thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much. And I am going to just wrap things up with a great big thank you to our benefactors. The folks at NVIDIA have worked their tail off to bring this to you. It's their goal to help all marketers understand how to deliver content in a more efficient way, to lift us up and to help us do our business better. And Just Between You and Me are the conversations that are going to open the doors, open our eyes to behind the scenes things that are going to make us more successful in our online venture. So thanks to the entire team at NVIDIA. They just hit the ball out of the park as far as I'm concerned here today. So with that, I'm going to wrap things up. We will see you all next week for more Just Between You and Me. Till then, I'm Steve Dotto. Have fun storming a castle.